Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. Elizabeth Siver on behalf of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce in opposition to both bills 756 and 769. I will take them collectively as I've submitted written testimony that addresses them collectively as well. We're concerned here because we think that, as you just recently heard, that this would make it much more difficult to get approval for power plants in the state of Rhode Island. Obviously, all of us as individuals, those of us who work for businesses or own businesses, we all require power to run our daily lives and our businesses. And we think it's important, and honestly, when this was put together in the 80s, the intent here is to address these issues on behalf of the state collectively. And so that's why we're concerned about bringing in local members to the EFSB, because we're concerned that the state will not be able to address the collective energy needs of the entire state. Furthermore, as you heard, we're also concerned about projects being able to be held up indefinitely while waiting for proposals or additional information. We need to be able to move forward with large energy projects so we can be sure that we can meet the energy needs and demands of Rhode Islanders and their businesses, especially since many energy producing facilities in New England are coming offline shortly or will be in the near term. So it's a concern for us going forward. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Senator Aptakis.
Would you be opposed to, if this board resembles the state of Massachusetts and it wasn't local members and the state decided to have more public members that they weren't from the local community, and would you be opposed to something similar to Massachusetts that Senator Fogarty had elaborated earlier, the makeup of that board?
I'd have to take a look at the makeup of a Massachusetts board and get back to you.
But your concern is local representation. But again, you wouldn't have. Would you be concerned if it was a statewide body or statewide members that were added to this board, public members?
Again, I would have to take a look at Massachusetts' composition of their board. But the whole intent of the EFSB was so that it could be taken away from the local municipalities and addressed on a statewide basis. But I'd be happy to take a look at the Massachusetts board composition and get back with you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Senator Lombardi.
Thank you. Since you work at Roberts Carroll, I know you're a bright attorney, and all people that worked at Roberts Carroll were bright attorneys. And so I'll pick on you to start. We recently had, although a little different from this, we recently had Mayor Laws's proposal on the Situate Reservoir and the cooperative effort going on with the Situate Reservoir. And I posed the question to him then that since Situate owned 42% of the relevant property involved, don't you think that Situate should have a seat at the table? So am I hearing the opposition to 759 to 769? I'm sorry, to suggest that bringing the local affected situs in this case to the table will somehow hamstring the project and it won't go forward? Is that the suggestion? Because because my thought, just my logical thought, and sometimes I'm not logical, but my logical thought is that since Burrillville is the affected situs, why shouldn't there be local input on this issue?
Well, I have to be completely candid. The analogy that you're looking to draw about the water, I am not in any way involved in that particular bill or process, so I don't really know the details of that, so I can't draw the comparison very well, unfortunately for you. But my broad understanding is that that's more relative to the city of Providence, and that's why that's being put forth. But here we are. All Rhode Islanders need power. And so the reason that we want to take it away from the small municipalities is because what do you think would happen, Senator, if they were looking to do any large infrastructure project in your district? Well, I would suggest...
I can answer that question. They're putting they want to put a solar farm in Cranston. I'm well aware of that. And there are calls coming all over the place. But to suggest that my Cranston Town Council, City Council, or the local relevant boards of Cranston should not have a role at all in that seems to be a little problematic.
Well, we're just talking about the Energy Facilities Siting Board. We're not talking about no role whatsoever in in any manner. Obviously, the city or town council has been involved in this project. I don't think anyone can doubt that. I remember last year's hearing, there was letters that were brought forth before this committee from their council. So,
Which brings me to my second point, and that's 756. And I, quite frankly, Jerry Elmer always does a wonderful job in making me understand the area of energy law, because I don't know the area of energy law, but he articulates it so well. And to suggest that advisory opinions were irrelevant in the past, I think is a little bit disingenuous. And it goes a little bit to what John had to say. Clearly, advisory opinions were very relevant to the decision to be made. And I think the problem may lie with the fact that the old 1986 statute spoke in terms of may be considered as grounds for recommending denial, as opposed to shall be considered. But clearly, the use of advisory opinions are clearly relevant, have been relevant for the last 32 years.
right, but the concern is that we don't want any large project to be held up, which is what you had just heard from John. We don't want anything to be held hostage here. We do need to be able to address our energy concerns. That is the crux of our opposition today, is we want to make sure that whatever changes are made to this process, it is such that in Rhode Island, we will be able to move forward with a large-scale infrastructure project to make sure that we're able to meet our needs.
And the last point I would have asked you about 15 questions if it was in Cranston. I let you alone with just 3 questions.
I appreciate that on her behalf. Thank you.